Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes. Hi, thank you to everyone who's joined so far. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes. Thank you very much to everyone who's joined so far. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes. All right, so we're going to get started now. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined today. This is a webinar by National Drive Electric Week. National Drive Electric Week is an annual celebration of electric vehicles. It's a series of events all across the United States, organized by local EV owners and other groups. This year for National Drive Electric Week, we are currently supporting a combination of in-person and online events. So we hope this webinar will help promote both kinds of events. And my name is Kylie Morgan. I'm the Assistant Program Manager with Plug-in America. We're also joined by April Beauduc, who is the President of the Electric Auto Association. April, did you want to say a bit about the Electric Auto Association?
Yeah, hi everyone. I am sure that many of you are from Electric Auto Association chapters and are leaders on the call, and I'm the new president of the association. I'm very excited to be with you today. And the Electric Auto Association has about 100 chapters, mostly in North America and also around the globe, that educate local communities about the benefits of driving electric. And I've been in the electric industry for about the last 10 years and put on hundreds of EV events, so I am really excited to be sharing with you today. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for joining. And next, right now, I'm going to be putting a code in the chat panel for everyone. So, we're very happy today to be giving away a free Clipper Creek EV charging station. We're doing a drawing for, everyone who was able to attend today's webinar. And in order to enter the drawing, you just have to email myself with a special code in the body of the email or in the subject line. And I'm going to put that in the chat right now. So everyone should be able to see that in the chat. If you email that email address with that special code, by the end of today, you'll be entered to win, or entered in the drawing for a chance to win that Clipper Creek EV charging station. A special thank you to our sponsor, Clipper Creek, and to everyone who attended today. All right, finally, before we get started, if you have any questions during the webinar, please put them in the question panel, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end where we'll answer them. All right, so the first step to promoting your event is setting up your National Drive Electric Week online event page. So when you set up your event page, you'll be able to put your date, time, location, and event description. And we do have event pages for both online and in-person events. So you can choose that when you register your event. It's important that you make sure to update all of those items probably by the end of August. When we get closer to National Drive Electric Week, your event page will show as unconfirmed if these items are not updated. If you're doing an in-person event, definitely put your COVID-19 safety precautions in the description. Another feature that a lot of people often miss is the contacting attendees feature. So once your event page is created and you log into the website and go to your event page, when you scroll down, you'll find lots of different settings for the page. And one of those settings is a feature called contacting attendees, where you put in the name of a mailing list that you'd like attendees to join. And what that'll do is that'll allow attendees to share their email address with you if they choose to. And due to our privacy policies, that's the way you would collect attendee email addresses. All right, and then another setting on that page is that you can choose if the participate button is at the top of your page. So if you don't want anyone to volunteer to share their experience or show their EV, you can uncheck those boxes. Yeah, we definitely encourage you to explore the other features of the page. There's other settings. Even after you create your event page, for example, you can turn it into an online event if you registered it as an in-person event, and vice versa. We also encourage everyone to provide a downloadable flyer or map, really useful information for attendees in your event description. All right. So next, these are just some general marketing tips. One good way to market your event is partnering with local businesses. Lots of small businesses are suffering right now because of the pandemic. So there may be an opportunity to partner with them. For example, you might ask a local restaurant to promote your event in exchange for giving away a few discount coupons to the restaurant to hopefully bring them more business. You can also promote a preview of your event. For example, if you'll be doing an EV parade or an online event, you might show a few seconds of a virtual test drive. Also, encouraging friends and family to post. Posting flyers around town is really important. Since people aren't going, outside as much these days, depending on where you're at, make sure you post the flyers at places like grocery stores that people are definitely visiting. Another good idea is if you have a local city calendar or even a local sustainability blog, they might be open to putting your event on their calendar. And whenever you're marketing, always focus on what makes your event unique. All right, so next is just a reminder to make sure that your promotion is really thoughtful. A lot of people are going through a hard time right now, and not everyone can afford an EV. Just be careful in your promotion that, maybe focus on messages that are around clean air, the environment, and the cost-saving benefits of EVs. You may also consider highlighting EV programs that target low-income populations in your community. National Drive Electric Week is meant to be an educational opportunity for the broader public. So always make sure to try and reach the EV curious and people who know nothing about EVs. We love our EV owners and our volunteers, but we want to make sure we're not preaching to the choir. All right, so I got these findings from a study by Deloitte, and I thought they might just help you understand your audience, in the U.S., what they care about, and what is going to encourage them to actually RSVP to your event. So they found that an interest in all-electric vehicles would likely rise if fossil fuel prices increase significantly. They also found that lower emissions as well as lower operating costs are the primary reasons that people consider hybrids or all-electric vehicles. And consumers in Canada and the US are not willing to pay very much extra for an EV. So with these first three, the big central theme here is cost. When you're promoting your event, it may reach more people if you focus on how you'll talk about the incentives that are offered, maybe how you'll save fuel money by driving an EV, things like that. Another finding was that expectations regarding the acceptable range of an all-electric vehicle are quite significant, even though their transportation requirements are modest by comparison. So what this means is that most people are looking for electric vehicles, all-electric vehicles, with a range of at least 200 miles, even though on a daily basis, they only travel maybe about 30 miles. So again, when you're marketing, maybe focus on how you'll talk about those long-range vehicles. And, of course, definitely show all the vehicles such as plug-in hybrids during your event. But promoting the all-electric vehicles with long ranges may encourage more people to RSVP initially. In addition, a significant proportion of consumers are willing to wait at least 30 minutes to fully charge an all-electric vehicle. So this is just really interesting because I think as an EV advocate who's always trying to get people to drive electric, we're always worried that the charging time will turn people away. And so this finding was interesting that it may not be as big of a turnoff as we think. All right, so marketing on social media. So on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you can do things like live tweeting and stories to make it more interesting. You can also add captions to your videos. I looked up, basically this is sourced from Facebook and their team and what they found. And they found that when you add captions to videos, it makes posts more engaging. So and they tend to perform better than videos that require people to turn the sound on. Another good practice is to ask questions in your text copy. So when you write a post, you might start it with a question like, what do you think the longest range EV is? And that'll just let people engage with your post and make it more likely that they RSVP to your event. Another thing that Facebook found is if you deliver your message within 5 seconds, people are more likely to remember that post when asked about it within 2 days. So it's kind of an interesting time frame that you can work with. For example, if you pay for an ad promoting a video where your message of come to our event, we're talking about EVs, is delivered within 5 seconds, you may have a 2-day window where people remember that ad. So it might be worth it to get your partners, your friends, and your families to really push posts about your event on social media for 2-3 days, so that you can try and ramp up a local conversation about your event. Facebook also found that mixed format marketing delivers better results. So what that means is using a mix of videos, polls, pictures, etc., to promote your event. And they also found that bite-sized, fast-paced narratives can also be effective. So it may be good to experiment with that. And one free tool that you can use to make this is Adobe Spark. And actually, if you are on Instagram, the World Economic Forum's Instagram account uses a lot of these types of videos. They're essentially slideshows, and each slide is a picture or a short video with some text on top of it. And this short slideshow, usually no more than a minute, is quick, but it also pretty effectively tells a story. So that's something that you can experiment with. Finally, just some general tips is always add hashtag #NDO2020, hashtag Drive Electric, and hashtag location name to your posts. This helps us see your posts and better promote them. You can also tag us, and then we have a social media guide if you'd like more details about posting instructions. In that guide, we also have sample text for posts and helpful links.
All right, thanks, Kylie. And what I love about National Drive Electric Week events is that the team works really hard to make these as simplified as possible. And so also know that if you have any questions on any of these concepts, that you can always reach out to us. And just, taking off from what Kylie was saying about social media, there's also paid marketing that you can do on social media, and you may find that it's pretty affordable when trying to reach your local audience. So for example, $100 can reach as many as 10,000 people. And you can use these online tools to target your ads specifically to people either in your local areas, in your specific interest groups. Maybe you have a region that's more focused on environmentalism. You can focus there to reach your EV colleagues. Also, encourage people to RSVP on our NDO event page, and then use our hashtag, so NDO 2020, and that way everybody who is interested in following what's going on around the globe as far as NDO events, they can see what's going on directly there. And also, if you do have a question, for example, how do I sign up for online marketing? One thing that I like to do, especially when I'm learning new tools, is I'll Google on YouTube, and ask that question. A lot of times there's lots of videos out there that are just giving very short blurbs on how to do advertising on social media. Next slide. And if you're a workplace and you're hosting a workplace event, so whether even it's virtual or if it's in person, leverage your internal communications, because that's really going to be the best way to reach your employees. Or if you're partnering with a workplace and that you can leverage the employees that they have, feel free to coordinate with them on how you can reach out to their internal communications team to let them know about your in-person or virtual event. and check for EV owners within the company to join the event and to also promote it through their social media channels. And then gather information on your company's, on the company's EV infrastructure. So are they thinking about installing charging? Have they already installed charging? Are they looking to expand it? Or, you know, as Kylie said before, are they just sort of in that EV curious space? Because again, the whole point of National Drive Electric Week is that we want to encourage more people to be driving electric. You can also offer a related talk or presentation a few days before the event. And then doing that, you know, virtually may be a great way to do that as well. Next slide. And so now looking at marketing tips for photos. Taking really good photos can be impactful and draw in an audience. So some of the tips would be to avoid doing faraway group shots. You really want to see the cars, and then you want to see smiling faces up close. So, you know, make sure that you focus on exactly as we have here on the left. You can see where the vehicle is, you know, taken far away, and on the right-hand side, you can see where, you know, it's really a close-up picture. So on the, you can also install a dash cam if you have one, and do a Facebook Live and drive. So like and you've seen all of these too. So what's your instant torque face, for example? If you're taking someone on a drive, you step on that pedal and you see the smiles on their face. Photos with speakers and attendees next to their EV is also a great way. And you can also create a badge so that speakers can add to their social media page when they RSVP. And what's a badge? So a badge is something where you send out to, you post on your Facebook page, and people can actually take that. So let's use on the right-hand side this logo by National Drive Electric Week. You can take that National Drive Electric Week logo and you can put that as your profile picture. So that's what a badge would be. So maybe you want to do something, you know, that's around your local area or something that represents your event. That's a great way to do that. And then also using photos from the NDO Media page. There is a ton of photos in there. So maybe you're a brand new event and you don't have photos from your last time. Just pull photos from that page because it really gives a good representation as to what happens during these events. And then you can credit the person that took the photo, which is always nice to do. Next slide. And so regarding photos and privacy, so you'll always want to ask permission if you're going to take a photo of someone, and you don't want to use photos of children's faces. If you do, you want to make sure that you have that guardian's written permission. And a lot of times you think, well, you know, how do I go about balancing, like trying to track down people's names? It is something that you have to do, and it's standard even in the journalism industry. So, you know, sometimes it's hard to get those names, but if you don't have a guardian's permission to use children's face, you should not be using those photos. If you are having an in-person event, be sure to, you know, post a sign that says, participating in this event, you're giving us permission to use your photos. That's a great way that you can alert people to this and that it's not a surprise. And if you're representing the Sierra Club at any of your events, they have some stricter policies and you can look on their website for those. All right, so a couple of things. I want to introduce our guest speaker, and then we also want to give a huge thank you to our platinum level sponsor. And Dory Larsen is joining us from the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy. And in 2017, in 2017, there was a newly created role that she was able to take as the electric vehicle program assistant. And she became the electric vehicle program coordinator just last year. She's working to accelerate the transition to EVs by promoting the growth of EV ownership and supporting EV-friendly policies and programs. And she serves on the board of Drive Electric Florida, and she chairs the Tarpon Springs Sustainability Advisory Committee. So we're very excited that she is here joining us, and we'll be talking to you in a second. And again, we want to give just a huge thank you to our sponsor, Nissan Leaf. And also thanks to everyone for joining the webinar today. And I know that a few of you showed up after Kylie made the announcement, and you can actually enter the code to her email that's posted in the chat. If you send her that code in that email that she's already posted to the chat, and she posted the code, you'll be entered in a drawing for a Clipper Creek EV charging station. So thanks again to Clipper Creek, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Dory. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you, April, and thank you, Kylie, for having me today. Greetings to you all from sunny Florida. I'm coming from the Tampa Bay area, and I'm a proud EV driver. I own a used Nissan Leaf that I've had for 3 years, and we also have a Chevy Bolt. So I'm really passionate about electric transportation, and I'm excited that you guys are all here and wanting to host an event as well, so that we can get even more folks pumped up about driving electric. So what I wanted to give is a little bit of just kind of personal stories and anecdotes and helpful tidbits. I've had and organized over 60 in-person events, and we've actually started hosting a lot of virtual events because of the coronavirus pandemic. So one of the first things I would recommend is when you are creating your event, to definitely try to partner with with your city and actually ask them to co-host the event with you. Also reach out to any green groups that you have in your area, and if you have any EV clubs, to make sure that you've been reaching out to them as well. So we've done that with multiple cities and also with some EV groups. We have an event that is scheduled virtually for NDU with the city of Cape Canaveral and the Space Coast EV Club. And that allows you to really expand your reach. Trying to get folks to come and participate is, is challenging when people have got so many different things on their schedules and they're so busy these days. And there's so many webinars and things that people can choose to go to. So if you can expand your reach by tapping into their networks, that is extremely helpful, especially if you personally invite the mayor or a city council member to participate in an official way, like giving them a speaking role, then you're much more likely to get them to participate. They love to show up and shine. So in terms of social media takeaways, I think that it's really super helpful to create some sample posts and tweets and just give those to your partners to make it a lot easier for them to share. Time is, a premium with a lot of with city staff members. So being able to just have some sample media posts ready to go is really helpful. And then also when you create a Facebook event, it's really helpful to make your partners co-hosts, because again, they can send those events out through their social media channels on Facebook and just make it a lot easier to reach more folks. So in terms of earned media and trying to get your local channel there or your local newspaper there, what we have found to be really helpful is to, when you send your invitation for them to participate, send over some video of just an EV driving down the street or plugging in an EV or any other images that you have that they can use, because again, them trying to tap stock photos, if they have something very quickly that they can go to, they're a lot more likely to use that image and your event making it into the local news stories. Next slide, please. So I also have just some tidbits for in-person events and virtual events broken out here. I would highly, highly recommend that you have as many volunteers on hand the day of the event, if it's in person, that you can muster, and to be real specific with the tasks that you give volunteers to do. So if you have someone who is going to be taking photos of the event or videos of the event, it's really good to have a list of the images ahead of time that you would like to capture. So, and also have those permissions forms or waiver forms on hand for minors ready to go, so that if you want to, capture those images, it just makes it a lot easier if you have a plan of what you're looking for. I mean, obviously it's good to be spontaneous and get those fun in the moment pictures, but it does help to plan a little bit as well. Another really important volunteer point person is if you do have elected officials or VIPs, like a manager at the store that's participating, or local, local shop. Make sure that if they have a speaking role, that they understand where and when they're to be, and having that point person that's there guiding them to where they're supposed to be, and making sure that they have that point person that they understand that that's who they're to connect with. Makes it a lot easier for organizing the event, because having hosted them, I can tell you, can get a little chaotic in the moment if you're the city captain trying to, do a whole lot of tasks at the same time. And then the third volunteer point person is to really have somebody who's on point for media. So if the media does show up and they want to do a quick interview, you already have lined up the person that they are going to interview, make sure that obviously that they're comfortable in front of the camera and speaking and that sort of thing. All right, so for virtual events, I think that it's really important ahead of time to make sure that whichever platform you're planning on using, we use Zoom, that you make sure that that platform can handle the number of registrants that you are planning on having. So oftentimes if it's a free platform, there's a limit to the number of folks that can sign on, and it would be, obviously not so awesome in the middle of trying to get folks registered and signed up at the time that the event starts, to discover that you can only have 100 people or a certain number of people. Another thing that I've learned as in my years of public education is to break it up into digestible chunks. So folks have a limited attention span, and if you have different segments for the event virtually, that makes it a lot more fun and engaging for participants to listen and participate on. Also, to include and offer opportunity for your partners. If you do partner with a city or with a business, offer them an opportunity to have some slides and to be able to highlight what they do, and offer public officials speaking time. And then to make sure that you have enough time for question and answer. I know that sometimes that can be nerve-wracking if you're worried that what if they ask me a question and I don't know the answer. That's okay. Just make sure that you have a list of questions that you've already prepared, so that in case folks are nervous and don't want to ask questions, you can say, well, here's a question that we usually get about the cost of the vehicle, or the range of the vehicles, or how to charge, and have that set of questions kind of researched ahead of time, so that you can actually have solid numbers to validate what you're saying. And it's always totally fine to say, I don't know the answers to that. I can look it up and get back to you. So don't be afraid to really allow time for question and answer. It's a lot of times very meaningful for participants to be able to have their questions answered. And then last, just making sure that you're following up with an email, thanking folks for participating and offering to answer additional questions that they may have thought of or that may come up while they, after the event has ended. Those are my top tips. So I'll hand it back over. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dory. And Dory will also be available at the end during our Q&A session if anyone has any questions. Okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about engaging with the media. So if you have registered an event on the Drive Electric Week site, whether it's online or in person, you will receive a list of press contacts for your state. Every year for our events, we send a list of press contacts by state that will hopefully help get the word out about your event. On the Drive Electric Week resources page, we also have a template for contacting your media. And a few strategies for securing media at your event. As I said before, focus on what makes your event unique. There's going to be a lot of EV events this fall, which is fantastic. So try, when you promote your event, focus on what makes your event local or what makes it special. That's why having a public official or even someone from your local police department who has a police EV, or firefighter department, something like that, can really help get some attention around your event. You can also work with local influencers and connect with state and local efforts. So if you have a local utility that has been installing charging stations or any, local government facilities that have been incorporating EVs into their fleets, I'm sure they would love to get the word out about all the great work they're doing. And, again, that's another partner to help promote your event. And finally, to share compelling stories. For compelling stories, each one will be different, but it doesn't have to be something so grand. It can be as simple as, someone with asthma who discovered that EVs will help clean the air and decided to drive electric, and them just talking about their experience. With EVs, for the general public, they don't know very much about them. So anything that can make them feel more familiar and make people feel more comfortable with the technology really helps. All right, so when to invite media to your event? It's good to invite them 1 week before if you send out a media advisory to local news stations. And 1 to 2 days before the event, you can call them as a reminder. And even on the day of the event, you can give them another call. And if they don't cover your event that day, you can always send a press release after the event with numbers on how many people showed up, maybe public officials that spoke, and they may cover it even after the event. Okay, so on the right is an example of a National Drive Electric Week proclamation. And this is something that you would ask your mayor or governor to issue, which declares the week of NDO as a week for EV education in your city or state. This is a really good way to engage your public officials and make them feel like they're really taking action towards supporting clean energy and sustainability. You can reach your local public officials by attending a town hall or even visiting their office is really effective. And one recommendation here is don't assume that they know anything about EVs. So make sure to bring some printed materials with you that explain what they are and talks a little bit about your event. Some other resources are, again, our social media guide, where we'll have sample posts, hashtags, and various instructions. On the NDO resources page, you'll find an EV 101 template slide deck. And then also we'll have a list of online conferencing platforms with a brief description of each to help you choose the one that works for you. And soon we'll be uploading NDO Zoom background images. An important update here is that our sponsor Nissan Leaf just provided us with a new logo. You might have seen before, but often the National Drive Electric Week logo is accompanied with the Nissan Leaf logo along with the logos of our national organizers, Plug in America, Electric Auto Association, and Sierra Club. So that kind of image that encompasses all those logos will be updated soon. So just keep an eye out for that. Some other great resources are Adobe Spark, which can be used to create engaging social media posts. Canva.com has tons of really nice graphics for presentations, social media posts, pretty much anything you can think of. And the Electric Auto Association also has lots of presentations they can share with you on a variety of topics, such as clean air, EV 101, things like that. All right, so if you have any questions that we can't get to during this webinar, or even anytime, any other questions in general, feel free to email any one of us. And now I'm going to look at what questions we got. Okay, and so we have one question. Since there's a potential for the pandemic to be overwhelming during NDO, are there points that we must emphasize in our communications to ensure that necessary health practices are observed? This is a really great question, and I think it's really important if you're organizing an in-person event to put in your event description all the precautions you're taking. So in your event description, include if you are requiring people to wear masks, you know, that you're staying 6 feet apart, things like that. You know, you can always check the CDC for official guidelines on events, and they have specific guidance for that. All right, and I think we have some other question in the chat. I'm going to check right now. Okay, so we have a question about the used EV market. Are there many models available, and is the pricing much reduced? So this was really interesting. I actually, you know, in doing research for this webinar, I was reading a bit about consumer behavior with car buying. And one of the trends that's happening now is people aren't buying as many new cars. A lot of people are looking to the used car market because it's more affordable, and new models have just become really expensive. There definitely are used EVs available. If you go to any used site, one example is Car Gurus. You can search for those, and they are available. There's lots of Nissan Leafs because they've been around a long time. But there's also used Chevy Bolts, used Teslas, used plug-in hybrids like the Chevy Volt. So I would definitely spread the word about that during your event. And then also, depending on the state you live in, there may be a local used EV rebate. So that's really important to promote. Oh, and we got another suggestion. MyEV.com is also good for used EVs. All right, and a final reminder for anyone who may have joined late, we are doing a drawing for a Clipper Creek charging station, EV charging station today. If you'd like to enter the drawing, please email me, kmorgan@pluginamerica.org, with the code EVXP359. I also posted that information in the chat for anyone who wants to look. And just make sure to email me by the end of today in order to enter. So we have another question. Can older cars with low mileage be upgraded to have the newer long-range batteries? April, I don't know if you have any experience with this. I know Electric Auto has a lot of EV conversionists, so I'm curious.
Yeah, there are quite a few clubs that are focused on converting their their gasoline cars to electric. And I would just, if you want to email that hello@electricauto.org, I can be sure to connect you with some of those. So happy to do that.
Awesome, thank you. And also, there are a few programs. For example, some older Nissan Leafs are eligible to receive a new battery. So depending on the model you have, you might just Google and see if there's an opportunity to replace old batteries. Dory also added a great point, which is that you can check the afdc.energy.gov website to search for incentives. And we have another comment about seniors going out in the public for events. You know, because of the pandemic and seniors are a vulnerable population, I think this is really where virtual events will be helpful for them. And I've also seen some events, at least one event on the ND website is doing a virtual and in-person event. So they'll be having both at the same time, and people can choose to join either way.
Kylie, if I may, I didn't really describe what we do with our virtual events, so I thought that might be a good idea. We do an introduction, and then we actually film a video that shows the car driving and explains features and benefits of driving electric. And then we also show how to plug it in to level 1 and level 2 charging. So just for some ideas of what you would include in a virtual event, you know, those videos that you can embed in it are a great idea.
Awesome, thank you.
And Kylie, there's a couple of questions also in the Q&A. One was, is this going to be recorded? and can they get that recording?
Yes, so this will definitely be recorded. Probably early next week, I'll send it out, the recording of the webinar along with the slides. And our webinars are also always posted on the Drive Electric Week site. And then also I'm going to repost how to enter the Clipper Creek EV charging station drawing. And so that's in the chat. Okay, let's see. Another question, will you be creating a 2020 NDO welcome video that can be shared at our webinars? You know, that's a great idea. We don't have that in the works, but Plug-in America does have an example of a virtual EV test drive on our YouTube channel. And it's pre-recorded and may be helpful for anyone who's looking at how to make their own. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. I think we're going to end a bit early. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined. You know, be sure to email me with that code if you'd like to join, or if you'd like to be entered for that drawing. And yeah, I think that's it. Oh, let me move to the next slide before we leave off here. So next steps that I hope everyone will take is you can follow our social media at National Drive Electric Events on Instagram or at Drive Elect Events on Twitter or Facebook. And just a note there is we recently updated our social media handle. So you may remember that on Twitter and Facebook, it used to be at Nat Drive Elect Week. So that's changed to be more general and to accommodate our other April campaign, Drive Electric Earth Day. We also definitely encourage everyone to host a virtual event and connect with Electric Auto Association chapters. You know, the chapters can help if you're looking for volunteers. It's a super active group of local EV owners. All right. And a final reminder that after early next week, I'll be sending an email to everyone who RSVP'd with the recording of this webinar and the slides. All right, thank you so much everyone for joining, and good luck with the drawing. And thank you very much to our speakers, April and Dory.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Bye, everyone.